Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Forensic8888, and I've been so busy in college that I have not had any time to make any new videos. So, I'm going to make some new ones during my Christmas break. But for right now, I just wanted to go through some of my older videos and repost a few of them. And I'm not going to do a premiere, I just wanted to make them a little bit better. This is the story about the time when I slept with my sister's boyfriend. And a lot of people have heard this story before, and I have gotten a good bit of negative feedback about this, but I really don't care. And a lot of people didn't like the fact that I was smiling in this video, and I don't care about that either. This is my story. I'm gonna tell it the way I want to. If you don't like it, then you bastards know how to exit my page.
That's right, Forensic. Most of the people who commented on your video won't bust a grape in a fruit fight. All bark, no bite, and built for the comments section, not real life. Anyway, listeners' discretion is advised. This video includes discussions of childhood sexual abuse, sodomy, sexual assault of a minor, grooming, predatory adult behavior, child endangerment, and trauma. It also contains references to family-related abuse, emotional distress, and the lasting psychological impact of these experiences. Some descriptions may be explicit and could be difficult to hear. If you need to skip this type of content for your well-being, please feel free to do so.
I am getting over a cold, but these videos not gonna push themselves out, so you know, I gotta do what I gotta do. Anyway, y'all enjoy the story. This is the story about when I slept with my sister's boyfriend. Okay, so my mother had 2 girls and 3 boys. It was me, Knowledge, Phil, Lisa, and Byron. So Phil went off to college and Byron went down south to go live with his dad. It was me, Lisa, and Knowledge that stayed at home with my mom. My mom, she was a great mom. She always worked, kept a clean house, a full fridge. She loved to cook and kept the bills paid. She loved all of us, but she would baby me a little more than she did my siblings. As a kid, I used to catch on real fast. I was reading before I hit preschool. I excelled at school, but I was just really, really quiet. Also, I really loved my brother Byron. And when he went down south, my family said I was just depressed because Byron used to treat me like a princess, buy me things and give me money, and he flaunted me around town. I just wanted to do everything with him. As time went on, I made a little bit of progression. I still didn't talk a lot, but one day I just told myself I'm about to go get some snacks. So I let my mom know that I was going to the corner store, and I had my own money, but she was so happy that I wanted to get out of the house, she gave me some more money. At this age, I had a weekly allowance as long as I do certain chores. I started walking to the store more often, and when I got there, this guy named Tim would say little stuff to me, but I didn't say more than a few words to him. Tim lived in our neighborhood. Everyone knew him and his family, and he used to help his Uncle Jimmy out at the car shop sometimes. He was real cool, laid back, nice clothes, stayed with money. Everybody liked him. From what I was told, he was a dope boy and one of the top earners on the block. At first, his family didn't know what he was doing, but when Tim really started dressing up and always staying with new stuff, his family knew like that money didn't come from his uncle's shop. I was also told that Tim used to have some of his runners help women carry groceries in the house, and he would buy ice cream for the kids when the ice cream truck came. He was just the all-around drug dealing gentleman type of guy. When I used to go to the corner store, Tim was saying little stuff to me, and I knew his lips were moving, but I really didn't care what came out of his mouth. I was just kind of awkward. One day, Tim said, "Hey, little Byron, what's up with you? You don't hear me calling you? You don't hear me talking to you?" When he called me little Byron, it just made me pay more attention to him. Then next thing you know, he started calling me little Byron all the time. Like Tim would smile at me and give me a compliment saying how good I looked, how he liked my clothes, or how he liked my hair. I remember saying thank you, but like I said, I wasn't sure what to say. I didn't talk a lot. I didn't talk a lot to certain people, I should say. Then when I would leave out the store, he would tell me what was in my grocery bag without even looking. One time I looked in my bag and looked back at him and I was like, "You nosy." But he always was right. I never knew how he knew that because sometimes I didn't get the same thing and it was in a black bag. So this went on for a little while. And at this time of my life, I wasn't really into boys like that. Like I think I liked them, but I didn't care too much about them. Guys used to say, "Man, you real pretty. I like you. You got a big old butt. Damn, you fine." yo, you look just like your sister Lisa. But I don't really remember being interested. Now with Tim, it was different because Tim, like, he just started doing the most to get my attention and for me to recognize him. I became curious and I developed a huge crush on him. See, I was used to being called pretty, but when Tim called me pretty, it just seemed different. Like the way he said it didn't sound like the same way other people would say it, or maybe it was just in my mind. But he was different from the boys at my school. Next thing you know, Tim started giving me money to buy my stuff. And this made me really start to like him even more because I loved money. Like Byron used to give me money all the time. My siblings used to give me money, and I had an allowance, and now Tim giving me money. So my little piggy bank stayed full. Tim would like point out things about me that I didn't think nobody paid attention to. He made me feel like a little schoolgirl, you know, with the little butterflies or whatever. And I used to think about him a lot. Then I would write his name all in my diary. The page would be filled with little hearts and our name in it with the arrow going through it. So one day I got dressed up real cute, put on my charm bracelet, lotioned up with my skin so soft, put some oil sheen in my hair, and grabbed my money from off the dresser because I wanted to go to the store. I already knew I would either see him walking around the neighborhood or by the store because that's where he was hustling at. I walked all the way up the street. Then I made a left to go to the store. And as soon as I turned the corner, I saw Tim with his Uncle Jim and some of the old men that be at the shop. They were on the corner laughing. He saw me walk up and we locked eyes. So I slowed down a little bit because I was waiting for my compliment like he normally did. But he just gave me a quick ass head nod like, what's up? No smile, no nothing. Then he looked down and started messing with his radio. Eventually, I went in the store and I grabbed my snacks and paid for everything. The owner of the store was a Puerto Rican dude, and everyone called him Poppy. Poppy was older, laid back, like no nonsense type of guy. But when I went into the store, Poppy was like, "Hey, mommy, that guy out there, he come in here, he asked about you." Then Poppy said, "He's no good. He's no good. I know him. He's no good." And I'm like, damn, I can't remember everything else he said, but that conversation stood out to me because I never heard Poppy talk like that. He don't really say much to us. But anyway, I think I may have told Poppy okay or something. And then I walked out the store and I looked to my right and I saw all the old heads still laughing, but Tim's head was still down looking at the radio. He didn't tell me how pretty I was. He didn't tell me that he liked my hair. He didn't try to guess what was in my bag, and he didn't give me no money like he usually does. So I just kept looking at him while I was walking away. And I guess maybe I was looking too hard because one of the old heads said, "You'll stop being nosy before I tell knowledge on you." But Tim never looked at me and he didn't even defend me. I don't remember saying anything back to them, but I remember I walked off like it was nothing. And as soon as I hit the corner and they couldn't see me, I started running. Oh, I was so embarrassed. I ran the rest of the way home. And then when I reached my gate, my best friend Kim saw me. She said, "Yo, my mom, what's up? Come here. Why you running?" Like, I didn't even go inside. I just walked over to Kim's house. Then I started telling her what was going on. I told Kim the whole story about how I had a crush on this guy and he used to talk to me. Now he won't say anything to me. She said, "I didn't know you like boys. I didn't know you was into boys yet, but come on, let's go inside." She was like, "I'm going to tell you why he did that." Okay, we went inside her house. We went upstairs to her room and Kim told me to sit down on the bed. Then she sat down next to me and she said, "He did that because he's immature." Now, I heard the word immature plenty of times before, but Kim was a little older and more experienced than me. So I thought she knew everything. She said, "You know how some of the boys act nice to the girls, then when they're around their friends, they would act different?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "That's because they're immature. But when they're not immature, they're going to act the same no matter who's looking." She was like, "They're afraid that their homeboys are going to say something to them." And she was like, "My sister told me you have to act like you don't really care because when you act like you like them, they don't like you. But when you ignore them, they be on you, yo." So I'm like, okay. She used to teach me a lot. See, I was a virgin and I was more worried about like getting my hair done and money. I wasn't boy crazy yet, nor interested in a relationship. Like, I didn't even know what the hell a relationship was. I just seen people hugged up and kissing each other. We stayed in her room for a little while longer, then went outside. It was getting late and she had to go in the house and so did I. See, back in the day, you had to either be on your porch, in your yard, or in your house before the street lights came on. But this was the summertime, so I went inside to eat, grabbed my diary, my pen, my gigapet, then I went and go sat back on the porch. And these kids today don't even know about gigapets, nanopets, or Tamagotchis, but y'all just Google it. Anyway, Lisa was out there, my sister. She was standing by the gate and she had her skates on, but she had a pair of her sneakers in her hand. She started looking down the street. And when I turned to see what she was looking at, I saw Tim walking up. He locked eyes with me and he just started smiling. Then he started walking closer to our house, and I just remember I got nervous and I started playing with my hair and trying to fix myself. I guess I forgot about earlier. When Tim finally reached the gate, he looked at me, smiled, put his left hand up to wave to me, and I was just looking at him. After he greeted me, he put his left hand back down. Then he took both of his hands and wrapped them around my sister's waist and started kissing her. I sat on that porch in shock. I did not understand what was going on. And she didn't see the expression on my face because her back was towards me, but Tim saw it. He was facing me. After they was kissing and hugging, he looked back up at me and gave me a head nod. And when they were done, she took off her skates and she threw them in the yard. And then she put on her sneakers that she already had in her hand. She still didn't look at me. But I heard her say, "Tell mama I'm going down the street. I'll be right back." Then they left. I took my stuff upstairs to my room. Then I started scribbling all over his name in my diary. Like, I threw my gigapet across the room, and then I threw myself in the bed. I was so mad. So time goes by, and I can't recall everything, but I started seeing them together more, and I was jealous. My sister and I were both pretty, and we looked alike, but she was one of the women in my family who had like a nice big perky chest. See, back then, a chest was what a lot of girls wanted, and some of us used to stuff our bras with tissues and socks or whatever to make them look bigger, but she ain't had to do that. Like, I had a big butt for my age, but I wanted some tatas. But she used to give him a hug and then press her chest on his chest. Like, I was so jealous, but I never said anything because my sister was mean as hell, and I was scared of her because everybody knew that she had a bad attitude and she would fight dudes. Okay, one day I went to Kim and I said, "Do you know I caught Lisa kissing my crush?" Kim paused and she said, "You dead ass serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Ew, what's wrong with her? Why would she do something like that?" So I said, "I don't know." I was like, "And they're always hugging and kissing. And he's immature." She was like, "How he immature?" I'm like, "When it's just me and him, he'll give me money and he be trying to grab on my butt." Which he was not trying to. But I was like, he be trying to grab on my butt. But when people were around, he would say I'm like his sister. And she was like, "Yeah, because all them boys immature, but I never thought Lisa would kiss on somebody that you like." And she was like, "That happened to my sisters and they were fighting over a boy." Kim said, "But if you tell Lisa, she gonna beat you up. Everybody know Lisa mean." All right, we eventually stopped talking about it and started listening to her CD. And I need everybody to remember that I was young at this time. Like, we were young people having a conversation. A lot of this stuff I'm going to say to you is going to sound really immature because it was. Okay, fast forward the story. He started hanging around more. I guess I was still jealous because when he would kiss or on her or they would hold hands, I would just like roll my eyes or something. And when they would ask me a question, I would act like I ain't hear them. One time I heard my sister say, "I think she's worried about Byron again." One day, everybody was gone. My brother and my mother worked at the same job, so they would leave together and come back home together. Like, they had the same schedule. And Lisa was at the mall with her friends. I remember listening to my CD and feeding my little gigapet. Then it was when somebody rang the doorbell. I went downstairs, went into the living room, pulled the curtain so I could see who was at the door, and it was Tim. I opened up one door and then walked through the foyer and then went to open up the front door. And then I looked at him and I was like, "Lisa ain't here." With an attitude, I don't know, I was just extra. He was like, "Duh, I know you here by yourself, yo." Like, Lisa already called me. She at the mall with her friends. She had paged me. You know, I called her back on the payphone and she said she about to catch the bus home real soon. And then he was like, and she said I could wait here for her. Okay, I felt like he was telling the truth because my sister did go to the mall with her friends and she would have to catch the bus back home. Plus, Lisa was always paging people and she taught me how to do it. I know y'all kids are like, what the F is a pager? What's a beeper? What's a payphone? Is it a link to it? Why she ain't hit him up on Instagram? So, you know, I just need y'all to Google that. Anyway, I finally let him in and I walked back into the house. He closed the front door and locked it. And then he closed the door, like the foyer door. He was like, "What you doing?" And I think I said something real childish, like minding my business and leaving yours alone. It was something like, I think that's what I said. I didn't get a reaction out of him. Tim just sat down on the living room couch and he said, yo, I got something for you. I said, okay. But I still turned around to go up the steps. So he got off the couch and walked over to me. I stepped up a few stairs and then I turned around and I was like, what? Tim grabbed me by my waist and said, yo, I got something for you. I said, Tim, you are immature. And Tim looked at me and he said, who told you I was immature? Why are you saying that? I said, because when people around, you act like you don't like me. But when nobody around, you act like you like me. Tim just blinked at me a couple times. And he was just staring. He was like, and then he laughed at me. He said, that's what you call immature? And then he said, look, don't even answer that. I got something for you. Then he let me go. He dug in his left pocket and pulled out my gifts. I seen what they were, but I was like, what is it? He said, I know you F with DMX and your old CD got scratched up. I got you a new one. Then he started digging in like this little black grocery bag he had. And he was like, I got your favorite chips, gum, and sunflower seeds. And then he said, and he was dragging out that word, and he pulled out a really pretty jewelry box. Then he opened it. He was like, I also brought you some more charms for your bracelet. And I was just standing on the steps looking at the stuff. I smiled, I got excited and I was like, thank you. And I said, I wanted these charms. I seen these when I was at the mall with mama, but she didn't get it for me because she just bought me some more sneakers. Tim said, yeah, I know. I seen you. You was looking at the charms, but you ain't see me. Then he started kissing on me and trying to grind on me while we were on the steps. Like, although I had a crush on him, something ain't feel right. Like, the shit was foul. I pushed him off and told him that I need to get back in my room and I need to clean up and do some stuff before my mom get home. He was like, all right. So I went up the steps, went in my room and closed my door. When I got to my room, my CD was still playing or whatever, but I heard him knocking on the door. I ain't answer. And then the knocking stopped. And then, like I said, a minute or two later, he started knocking again. I turned on my radio and I was like, who is it? I already knew who it was, but then Tim said, I got something for you. Like, he dragged that word out. I'm like, okay. Then he opened my door. My door was not locked. He had the DMX CD, the jewelry box with the charms in it, and my snacks. And I guess that I didn't realize that when he kissed me on the steps, I left everything. So he was like, take it. And I was like, no. Tim said, well, I'm going to leave it on the dresser. Lisa don't wear charms. I already got DMX. And Poppy not going to give me my money back for this food. He walked over to the dresser and put my gifts on it. And I saw the charms, but I didn't see that jewelry box. Tim stopped and he looked around my room and he was like, I like your posters. Then he walked over to me, took me by the hand and led me to my bed. I was really nervous, but I ain't say anything. I just let him lay me down and then he got on top of me. Tim was kissing on me and it was awkward because he kept trying to stick his tongue in my mouth and I didn't know how to kiss at this time. He was like, I know you probably used to kissing your pillow, but I'm gonna show you how to do it for real. It was disgusting to me. At the time, I just kept pulling my head back and eventually he stopped trying to put his tongue in my mouth. But he started touching on my body and rubbing on my chest. I was uncomfortable because they were small and I didn't think they looked good like Lisa's. And he must have sensed it because he was like, he squeezed my nipples and he was like, yo, I like these too. Then he pulled down my pants and started caressing me down there. At first, it was okay. Then it hurt a little when he tried to open me up with his fingers. Y'all know, due to YouTube policies, I got to cover up some of these words, but just use your imagination. While he was working on me with his right hand, he took his left hand and quickly undid his belt and, his zipper. Then he pulled his pants down. When I heard his belt buckle and his zipper, I jumped up. Like I was still a virgin, but I knew what was in them pants. And then Tim pulled his hand away from me and was like, yo, what's wrong? And I told him that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. He was like, why not? And I shook my head again. I was like, I just don't want to do this. Tim stood up and he was standing over me while I'm on the bed. Tim took his left hand and he held his thing in his hand, was like, yo, don't be scared. I'm not going to put this in you. It didn't look as big as the ones Lisa showed me in the magazines, but I was still scared of it. Like, I didn't know what to do. It was just awkward. Tim said, just lay back down, open up your legs, and I'm going to kiss on you. I promise I won't do nothing else to you. And I still didn't lay back down. I remember still sitting up like Indian style and trying to cover up my chest with my pillow. It seemed like he was getting frustrated or whatever, but then he kind of calmed down a little bit and was like, I really like you, but when I used to say things to you, you barely spoke to me. I didn't think you liked me the way I liked you. That's why I got with your sister. Because when I said something to her, she would speak to me. And he was like, I ain't mean to hurt your feelings when I kissed Lisa, but I thought you ain't like me. You know, you real quiet. I ain't know what to think. And while he was telling me this, he was stroking himself with his left hand and moaning at the same time. Tim was freaked out. Like, Tim was real freaky. I saw stuff like this on adult magazine, and Kim showed me her mama porno tape before, but I ain't never see it in person. I just kept staring. After he said how he felt about me, he told me to lay back down, open up my legs, and he promised he wasn't gonna hurt me. I still didn't lay back down. He started pushing me down, and then I stopped resisting. I remember laying down and still holding a pillow on my chest, and Tim opened up my legs, and I felt his tongue all on my vagina, and he just kept licking and moaning. And this was something like I never felt before. And I guess this excited him because his shoulders just start popping real fast. You know, he was helping himself and them shoulders was popping real fast back and forth. He continued to stroke himself and he was moaning real loud, and I was still screaming, grabbing his head. Then he moved his head away from me and stroking himself. And next thing you know, he finished in his hand. After he caught his breath, he hurried up and put back on his clothes. So I sat up on the bed and just stared at him. While he was getting dressed, he told me to put on my clothes and said, don't tell nobody about what we just did. He was like, you know your sister crazy. And if you say something to her, you know she going to fight. Tim left out of my room, went to the bathroom. When he was done in the bathroom, he went downstairs and I heard him leave out the house. I was still sitting on the bed with no clothes on. I don't know if I was trying to process what was going on. I don't even remember how much time went past, but I didn't move until I realized I had to pee. I put my clothes on, then went to the bathroom. After that, I went back into my room and I just sat on the floor. Like, I felt guilty. And plus, the way he hurried up and left made me feel stupid. I heard my sister come in the house and my mom and my brother. I don't know how they all ended up coming in at the same time, but they did. My mom called me downstairs and she told me she got me something to eat because she forgot to tell me to take the meat out the freezer to thaw out. We were in the kitchen while she was talking about the food. She didn't look at me. She was just settling down. Then after that, she put her bags down on the kitchen counter. She was still talking and she turned to look at me. My mom stopped in mid-sentence and said, you okay? What's wrong with you? She said, you don't look good. You getting sick? I believe it was just her mother's instinct because I had no idea what she was talking about. But when she said it, it made me feel even worse. Oh my goodness. It made me feel so guilty. And like, then she said, what did you do all day? Who was here when I was gone? All of a sudden, like, I just felt weak. And I just knew she could see it on me. Like, I knew she, like, in my mind, I felt like she knew everything. I was stumbling with my words. I was like, Mama, I was listening to my CD. Well, my CD was playing. And I was going to feed my gigapet. Well, it was almost time to feed my gigapet. Like, I was just stumbling over my words. And then my sister came back in the kitchen with Tim. And they were laughing and having a conversation. I got quiet, and the sound of them laughing, like it took the pressure off of me, the attention off of me, and I just thought everything was okay because everybody was laughing, nobody was yelling at me. Tim stopped talking to Lisa and he said, hey mama. He hugged her, gave her a kiss on the cheek, pulled out a chair for her, and then she said thank you. Tim was asking something like, how was your day? And she said long or something. He said, sorry to hear that, glad you made it home. And it was something else, but she said thank you. Like, everybody knew Tim was a gentleman. Then he looked at me and said, hey, you, what's up? How was your day? I said, I don't know. And my sister said, how you don't know how your day was? And I was like, I don't know. My mom told me that she was going to fix my food in a few, like go upstairs and freshen up or whatever. Tim, Lisa, and I, we all left out of the kitchen. Lisa walked out first. Tim was behind her, and then I was behind Tim. When we reached the living room, I heard him say to Lisa, after you paged me, I sat on the porch and I was waiting for you. You know, I got bored, went back home, played the game. I think he said he was about to go to sleep, and then he seen her. So what's up with something he was saying? And I just went up the steps and I was thinking like, yo, he just sat up there and said that she told him to wait here. But once again, I ain't say anything. I went up the steps, washed my hands, and went in my room for something. Maybe it was my gigapad because I always carried that thing with me. Then I just went back downstairs and waited for my food. As time went on, Tim kept pleasuring me with his fingers in his mouth. I'm not gonna lie. And his fingers didn't hurt as much as they used to. Like, I started liking it. One day we were in a room and he said, I do a lot for you, but sometimes I think you don't even like me. You don't even talk to me. Sometimes you get quiet on me. What's up with you? I always heard people tell me that I was really quiet. So when he told me this, like, I believed it. Then he said, do you like me? And I said, yeah. He was like, well, I like you. That's why I give you money and watch out for you. He was like, I'm always watching out for you. He said something like, I seen you when you almost tripped down the steps last week while you was messing with that gigapet thing. He was like, I see you ain't wear your new sneakers yet. I guess you saving them for school. And I also seen you ain't eat all your gumbo today. Like, you love gumbo. He was like, you starting to have a little attitude lately. And I know it's because you miss me. And I see other things too. He was right. So I said, well, what else do you see? Tim said, now look at your bracelet. I looked down at my bracelet and I said, what's wrong with it? Then he said, where the charms I bought you? Like, I had put those charms in my dresser and I didn't even think to put them on. I told him, like, I still got them there in my drawer. After that, his face was sad. Like, he put on a sad face or whatever. And Tim pointed to his chest. And he was like, I'm always paying attention to you. Then he pointed at me and said, but you don't like me. Like, he was scolding me like a child. And then I said, I like you. He was like, well, if you like me, show me. I just gave him a hug. I didn't know what else to do. It was awkward. He said something like, I'm going to need more than that. Or you're going to have to do more than that. Tim pulled down his pants and he pulled his thing out and said, if you really like me, I need you to touch me and kiss on me the way I be kissing on you. And like I said before, I knew what he was talking about because Kim already showed me them tapes. And I seen, you know, people go down on each other, but I never thought about doing that to somebody. Tim took my head and started pushing it towards his pelvis area. And I pulled my head back. So he kept doing it, grabbing my neck, getting aggressive. When I pulled my head back, he said, no, don't do that. And then he seen the look on my face. So he took a deep breath and told me, yo, a lot of people do this. Like, that's why I did it to you. But you're not supposed to tell anybody about it. If you really like me, you're going to do this for me. I'm going to show you how. I didn't want to do it, but I really wanted this dude to like me. I wanted him to treat me how he treated Lisa. And I wanted him to be like out in the open with me. Like, I was delusional. He told me how to do it. And that was the first time I ever gave a guy oral. Now, my jaw was hurting and I didn't know if I was doing it right. But after a while, he pulled it away from me. Then Tim got off the bed and stood over me. But I was still sitting on the bed. So he took his hand and held my face. Then he started helping himself. One hand has his member in it. The other hand, he got around my face like this. And it's in my face. Tim was freaky as hell. And he always wanted to talk while he was stroking. Then Tim was like, yeah, you catch on real quick. And you're real special to me. I can't get this to you. Not until you show me you like me. But he was moaning the whole time he was saying it. Moaning and stroking. Then he moaned and said, yeah, I'm about to make love to you real soon. And his shoulders started jumping back and forth real fast, you know. Now, mind you, the whole time he's still holding me like he had a damn death grip on my face. And his grip tightened up. He looked down at me and he was like, open up. Like telling me to open up my mouth. So I did it. And it hit some of my mouth. And I thought it was just so disgusting. So I started spitting and trying to pull my face back. But he gripped my face and was like pulling me forward. I just stopped resisting. And then I closed my eyes or whatever. And even though my eyes were closed, like I knew he wasn't finished. Because I still felt it on my face. Normally he would be happy afterwards. But this time when he finished up, he was mad. Like I could see it all on his face. We already had tissues in the room because we knew we were going to need it afterwards. Tim took the tissue and he like shoved it towards me. He was like, yo, wipe your face. And once again, I ain't say anything. I was just wiping my face, but kind of worried about him because this is the side of Tim that people didn't see. He started fixing his clothes. Like Tim didn't yell at me, but he had a serious look on his face. And he was like, yo, don't do that again. And he didn't say it, but I knew what he was talking about. Then he gathered our tissues, went to the bathroom. Then he left the house. After this happened, I started to change. At first, I felt guilty because of the sex. Like, I knew it wasn't right, but for some reason, I wanted more of his attention. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing. I had an attitude with people. I thought I knew everything. I started speaking up a little more. Tim had me feeling real brave. To be honest, I was hooked on him and I wanted him to be my man. I remember putting on some little shorts and rolling them up so they could look like Daisy Dukes. Then I took one of my shirts and I tied it so it could look like a halter top. Then I stuffed my bra with some tissues. It was either tissue or sock. I lotioned up and put some baby powder on my chest or whatever. We used to do that when we was younger. Put some baby powder on my chest and spray my hair with the oil sheen. And y'all, I was about to go to the store because I was trying to give Tim something to look at. Yeah, I got all dolled up and you couldn't tell me I wasn't fine. Like, I was trying to give old Tim something to look at. I was walking down the steps, you know, real confident. And then Knowledge saw me. He was playing the Nintendo. When I reached the bottom of the steps, I remember he paused the game, looked at me and said, "Where the F you think you going?" And I looked at him and jerked my neck. I was like, "I'm going to the store." And he said, "I bet you won't make it to that door." Man, well, I guess I wasn't that damn brave because I did not go to that door. Like, I just stomped my feet and went up the steps. And then when I got in my room, I was like, "You not my daddy?" Man, I was so blow. Like, I wanted to be with him so bad. It was just eating me up inside and I was just emotional. Like, one day I was just breaking down crying. Like, I wanted to tell my mom and tell my sister about Tim, but then I was like, well, my sister going to fight me, and then I'm worried about what my family would say to me. I didn't want them to look at me different. I used to hear people in the neighborhood talk bad about my best friend's Kim, her sisters, and they used to call them little fast ass little hoes and stuff, and I didn't want to be one of them. Once again, I ain't say anything. The reason why Tim and I would have so much time together was because a lot of times Lisa did hair, and people in the neighborhood used to pay her a lot of money to do their micro braids or whatever. Micro braids can take between like 8 to 12 hours, and I'm pretty sure she was taking breaks, or sometimes she would be off doing her own thing. Then she'll get with them. But, and my mom and Knowledge used to be at work. With them not being around as much, now I'm really acting bold. We already knew when everybody was going to be gone. We just planned for us to be together when they left. One day he came over and we were in my room and we were laying in my bed, and Tim started holding me. You know, after that he grabbed me from behind and started dry humping on me at the same time. And I already knew the routine. I took off my clothes, laid on the bed. He was like, "It's time for me to make love to you." I was so nervous. I wanted this to happen, but I was still nervous. We did the usual. He did the finger thing and he undid his pants. He held his little thing in his left hand. Then he said, "Don't be scared, I got you." I'm not even going to go all the way into the details, but I'll say that although he didn't use all of it, it was still horrible. Tim was rough. Tim was aggressive. Like, it seemed like once he got in there or tried to get in there, like, he just went wild on me. And he made me cry. But while I was crying, he was still going. He ain't stopped. And it was nothing like I seen on the movies. When we were done, it burned and I was in pain. And I told him, I'm like, "I'm hurting. My mom gonna find out." And he acted like he was mad at me. Like, "You know, this is my first time." Tim said, "That's what happens when you do it the first time. It's gonna hurt like that, but it'll feel good afterwards." I just kept crying. And Tim was not a gentleman anymore. He told me, damn. He told me, "You wanted this. You wanted me to do this. What you crying for? This what you wanted." And then he was like, "Man, hold on. I got something for you." He went in my sister's room and got me some type of pain medicine. And I don't know what it was, but he gave it to me and it took a while, but I started to feel a little better. He told me to go wash up and then before I go and take another one before I go to bed. And I mean, I healed physically, but mentally I was so messed up. Like, it was crazy. I remember Kim told me her first time hurt, but I just didn't want to do it anymore. Like, I used to be in my room thinking about him and then I would just start crying. I was a mess. It was so crazy. And after that, I was trying to avoid him. One day, I woke up to go to the bathroom and I seen that somebody slipped a note under my door with some money. And the note didn't say anything, but it had a heart on it. I knew it was him. It had to be him. Another time, he slipped money under my door and he drew on the money and it said "hi." He started leaving money and notes under my door, but the notes didn't really say anything. It would be a heart or it might say "hi." It was never too much on there. And when he was at my house with Lisa, I would just stay in my room or hurry up and go outside to avoid him. He just started acting real crazy. When I was home by myself, he used to knock on the front door. And I knew it was him because I would sneak to the window and, pull back the curtain, and I look at him just standing there knocking on the door. One time he said, "I know you see me right here. I saw the curtains move." Y'all, I was so shook. So one day I was alone in my room doing something. I don't know what it was. And I heard the front door open. Then I heard the foyer door open. So I'm like, oh, that must be Lisa. I heard footsteps come up the stairs, and then my damn door flew open. It was Tim. So now I'm scared because I've been trying to stay away from him. He walked in my room and I was like, "Get out." And he was like, "Yo, what's up with you? Why you acting like this?" Again, y'all, I was so shook because I didn't expect to see him. I thought it was Lisa. So I'm like, "Just get out." And he did not move. He did not budge. So I was like, "Where's my sister?" He said she went to do somebody's hair and she left her house keys on his dresser. And then Tim was like, "Now answer the effing question. What's going on with you? Why you acting stupid?" Y'all, I just started breaking down crying. I was scared. Lisa wasn't around. My mom wasn't around. Knowledge wasn't around. And this dude, he was just crazy. And he just really surprised me. Like, I really wasn't expecting that. He walked over to me and said, "Man, stop crying," and started hugging me. And he was like, "Look, I ain't mean to yell at you. Stop crying. Just stop. I don't like when you cry." He did his best to try to console me, and he started talking real nice to me. And then he was like, well, "Why you acting like this? You got me going crazy. I've been thinking about our last time together. I ain't mean to hurt you. This time is going to be different." He didn't even ask me if we could do it again. Then he said, "When you cry, it makes me angry because I think you don't like me." Then Tim started telling me about everything he seen me doing when I was avoiding him. Like, he noticed me a lot. And I think that when he said that, it may have helped a little because for some reason, I think I wanted people to notice me. But Tim was just good at mind games. Although people used to call me pretty, I don't remember people giving me a compliment on my charm or my gigapet or something. Like, it was just certain little stuff that he would say to me that I didn't hear other people say to me. Anyway, he started touching and rubbing on me. And he was like, "I'm not going to do that to you no more. I'm just crazy about you. This time it's going to be okay." He didn't even ask me if we could do it. He was just basically telling me. And I fell for the okie doke. I did. He helped me open up a little bit. We did the finger thing for a little while. And it still hurt. But it wasn't as bad as the first time. Afterwards, he told me the more we do it, the less it'll hurt. And it'll start to feel good. And once again, like I said, I fell for it. Then everything went back to usual. There were times where I wanted to be around him, but I didn't want us to have sex. Like, for some reason, the sex just felt wrong to me, but I still wanted him to like me. I was real delusional. And in my head, he was my knight in shining armor. I was so crazy about Tim. Like, my day didn't even go right if I didn't get to see him. Dude had me on cloud 9. One day I was supposed to go somewhere with my mom and I waited outside for her, but I saw Kim. So I walked over and I told her, "I got something to tell you." Even though Tim told me not to tell anybody what was going on, I just couldn't hold it in any longer. And Kim was my best friend, so I just had to tell her. She was like, "Girl, what?" So I whispered, I was like, "I had sex." And she was like, "No, you didn't. How?" "Well, who? Your crush?" So I smiled. So Kim said, "Wait a minute. I know you're about to leave, but you got to tell me about it when you come back. See if your mom will let you stay on the porch tonight." I said, "Okay." Then she said, "Well, I guess your sister must have broke up with your crush because I saw her kissing on Tim." So I said, "Tim is the one I had sex with." And she said, "Wait, what? Did you tell your mom?" And I was looking at her like, no, I'm not about to tell her myself. That was a stupid question she asked me. But my mom was coming out, and then I said, "I'm going to see you tonight when I get back." Kim was just standing there looking at us while we pulled off. When I got back home, I didn't see Kim. I rarely saw her because we started school again. Kim was in high school and I went somewhere else. Lisa broke up with Tim and started dating this dude named Ryan. Y'all, Lisa is still with Ryan to this day. They are married and they've been together for over 20 something years. So their breakup was hard on me because I really didn't see Tim as much. I had to go and hunt him down at this time. I remember one day I was walking home from school and I was still wearing my uniform. I walked to the corner store and I was asking people, like, if they seen Tim. I wasn't even embarrassed. Time goes on. I finally caught up with Kim and we were talking on my back porch. We started talking about sex. Then I brought up the subject about Tim. So she said, did you really have sex with him? And I said, yeah. Then I started telling her about everything that went on. She was like, so your mom don't know? And I told her no. I forgot what she had to do. But Kim was like, hold on. She was going to be right back. She had to go get something out the house. While I'm waiting for her on the back porch, Knowledge girlfriend Mimi came outside. And y'all, they got married also and they had children together. But at this time, Mimi was just his girlfriend. She said, I heard some of what you were talking about. You out here having sex? And I was like, yeah. So honestly, I was just tired of hiding it. Like, I didn't even really care anymore. I went through too many emotions during the summertime and now I can't even find him. I was just like, yeah, well, I did. And she was like, who did you have sex with? And I told her I had sex with Tim. And she was like, and that's what I thought I heard you say. I think that Kim heard us talking because she never came back outside. And then Mimi started asking me all these questions. And I was just telling her what happened. And she was like, that's why you be acting like that. And so I'm like, okay. Mimi went inside and told Knowledge and my mom my business. But honestly, I just didn't care anymore. I was sick of hiding it. Like, everybody was real mad. But they didn't seem like they were mad at me. I really thought they would be mad at me, but they weren't. They were mad at him. But this made me feel some type of way because I wanted to defend him. And then I got mad because when my brother heard about what happened, this is what Mimi told me. He wanted to go fight Tim. And Mimi jumped in the car with him. I believe she was trying to talk him out of it. She told me that they seen him on the corner. And then my brother hopped out of the driver's side car to fight. But he never switched the gears. So the car was still rolling. She said she had to jump out of the passenger side then into the driver's side to stop the car or whatever. Then she went to go get him. Tim was standing on the corner with his boys. So Knowledge walked up and started beating his ass. Mimi said Tim's friends were going to jump Knowledge, but they heard Knowledge say, you had sex with my little sister. So they backed up. Everybody knew Tim and Lisa was a couple, but they also knew Lisa was our oldest sibling. They let him beat Tim's ass and somehow he got away. So I'm gonna fast forward the story a little bit. I was real messed up behind Tim, and I felt like my family was wrong for running him away like that. After that, I didn't see him again until we went to court. So the trial was hell and I had to go through a process of continually repeating what we did. Then I had to tell a room full of adult strangers the same thing. But I was told that my story never changed. I remember wanting to give up and I just wanted it to be over with. I didn't want to talk to these people about Tim anymore. What I didn't remember was seeing my sister in the courtroom. And although this was like over 25 years ago, I remember her husband Ryan was there. And I was thinking like, why is he here? I was young. I didn't understand. But bro, you know I love you. But seeing his face actually helped me out in trial. Being up on a stand is scary for a little kid. And I had to sit up there by myself. So I felt alone. And I looked at him a few times and it helped. I talked to Lisa about this a few weeks ago. And I told her, like, I only remember seeing Ryan in there. She said, girl, I was there. And I'm like, what? Lisa said, when I was on a witness stand, she made sure that she sat directly across so I could see her. Lisa said that Tim's lawyer purposely moved himself in front of her so she wouldn't be in my line of view. And I guess it was some type of tactic that didn't work because I still spoke my truth. So Tim took a plea bargain but he still went to prison for over a decade. I don't know how that works. And he was getting beat up in protective custody. Salute to the people that handled that for me. Thank you. Our story made it to the news and in a newspaper. In an article, his lawyer said something like, I told Mimi that I had sex with Tim just so I can get out of trouble or something like that. So I purposely didn't mention that when I was having sex with Tim, Lisa was in her early 20s and Tim was in his mid to late 20s. And I was still in elementary school. Yeah. For many years, I was in and out of therapy and I was crazy. But when people called me crazy, I took offense to it because although I was doing stuff, that they thought was crazy, I didn't want to be labeled as crazy. I didn't want people to see me like that. But that's just how they saw me. I was real violent. I only had about a few friends because everybody else like, yo, something wrong with her. She weird. And I was hurting on the inside. Like, I was really hurt. I used to go around and just be like, man, I should spit on you. Like, that's what I'll be thinking about people. Like, I should spit on you. Why are you saying hi to me? What's up with you? And then I got to the point where as though I'm fighting dudes now. Like, I was just violent and I used to be so angry. I wanted you to hit me. I don't care if I would win or lose. I don't know what that was going to do, but my head was messed up at the moment. I was real messed up. So mentally, I suffered a lot. And it's like every time I went to therapy, they made me remember stuff that I was trying to forget about. And I'm not going to lie, it was frustrating. Like, for years, it was just frustrating because I felt like, man, this is not working. It's making me worse. Like, I'm getting angrier. At one point in my life, I had to deal with something called Stockholm syndrome. So I used to think about, like, he told me not to say anything, and I said something anyway. That's why he's in jail. And I used to blame myself for a lot of stuff. Like, I knew I was wrong, or my mom never taught me to do that. Like, anything, I would just beat myself up, and I tried to always paint Tim in a good picture, not realizing that he was grooming me. It took a while, but one of my therapists made me face the truth. She said, Tim watched me grow up. We lived on the same street. Our families knew each other, so he knew I was quiet. Most of the time, quiet children usually get targeted or looked over. She said, when you walk to the store, he would say different things to you to see what works. You heard him. You didn't give him your full attention nor reaction until he called you Little Byron. People knew you loved Byron, and he used to flaunt you around. Poppy at the store was trying to warn you about Tim. So Tim probably was asking Poppy about what you be buying from the store, and that may have been how he knew what was in the black bag. He was studying your patterns. Tim knew you was getting money from somewhere, and you going to the store to buy whatever you want. He took a chance with giving you money, but he used to buy kids ice cream in front of everybody without any problem. Tim probably figured that no one was going to question him about giving me cash. People may have thought it was normal for him to do something nice for the kids. She said, but when your family didn't confront him about it, he knew you never said anything. She said, I believe some of his friends were pedophiles also. But when Uncle Jimmy, he was one of the old heads at the corner store. She said, but when Uncle Jimmy told you to stop being nosy, it's because he was putting you in a child's place. He may have disliked the way his nephew acts with kids or something. Timmy couldn't reveal his true colors in front of him. That's why he ignored you. But you thought he was just being immature. When he hugged your sister and looked at you, that was a test. Then he told you that Lisa would probably beat you up for sleeping with him. Everybody knew Lisa was mean and she would fight anyone. He knew you were scared of your sister. You told me Lisa was mean, but you never told me she was being mean to you. And I'm like, damn. She really broke it down. And she went on. She said, and Tim bought you charms for your bracelet. You had a lot of very small charms. Your family may not have noticed all of your charms, but they would have noticed that jewelry box in your room or a new CD with a different artist on it. Not the same one you already had. When you started acting strange, the family thought you were depressed over Byron. And although Lisa didn't know he was like that, she still wouldn't have left you alone with him. That's why he had to sneak around her to see you. She was saying, like, Tim knew they paid a little bit more attention to you than you thought they did. You've seen adult movies and adult magazines, so now you have a false sense of what sex is. You had a feeling that he was doing something wrong to you, but you knew that people did it. And Tim knew you were a virgin, so that's why he had to slowly break you in with his fingers and his tongue. But Tim was starting to get frustrated and impatient, and he wanted to speed things up. So he guilt tripped you into oral sex. He raped you, then scolded you like a child when you cried. And sometimes scolding a child can make them feel guilty or ashamed. Plus, Kim already told you sex hurt. So when he said it was going to hurt, you believed them, and you believed that you deserved it because that's what you wanted. You did manage to hide from him after that, but most likely you wanted to make it right with him. And You wanted him to be your boyfriend without the sex part, but you would sacrifice having sex just to please him. She really broke it down, and it took me a while, but I had to realize he was weak and he could only challenge a damn elementary school student. Then she said, and since I was older now, Tim probably wasn't worried about me. So if it wasn't for jail, he would be grooming another elementary school student. That was a hard pill to swallow. But anyway, that's my story about the time that I slept with my sister's boyfriend. So you let me know what y'all think. Comment and subscribe to my channel at Forensic8888.
I like to give a shout out to a few other content creators, such as ebook, God Soulja, June 5th, Be Humble, Doug Walk Different, and check out BG Dino. He does movie reviews. He's always up on all the new movies, and if you catch him at the movie theater, he will pay for your ticket. And last but not least, check out the big homie at the DONTA Show Network. He has a variety of content from prison stories, real life stories, a gaming channel, and much more. I'm going to leave the link to their pages in the description or in the comments, and shout out to everybody else who support me. You're my people. Stay tuned.